Just because yesterday's news is old news, don't mean it's not good news.
There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Yesterday, on July 6th, 2 days after four-star tight end Hollis Davidson commits to Auburn Tigers, three-star offensive lineman Jacobe Ward commits to Auburn. Now, I know a lot of folks are like, oh, he's just a three-star. Who friggin' cares? Just because some recruiting site puts a star rating on a player doesn't mean that they're bad, or it doesn't mean that they're good. We had plenty of people to come to Auburn that were highly 4-stars, low 5-star players that just did not pan out. Top one that comes to mind is friggin' Byron Cowart. Who friggin' even knows what his name is anymore? Anyways, Jacobe Ward is a friggin' stud. 6'4", 340 pounds. He definitely has the size of a guard. Way too big to be a tackle, in my personal opinion. I like my offensive lineman, outside offensive lineman, to be smaller, able to actually move. This guy is just a friggin' brick wall, and defender's going to have a hard time getting by him. Now, it's just another good day for good news for Auburn recruiting. Had a slew of decommitments, like I talked about in the last video, and this one comes at an even better time, in my opinion. It's the dead period. 2 guys committed during the dead period. It doesn't get much better than that. Now, again, it doesn't matter what your rating is. It all depends on how well these coaches can develop these players. If you ask me, Auburn had a way better offensive line under Hugh Freeze's first year than Auburn did in Brian Harson's 2 years at Auburn. And that has a lot to do with the coaches he has on his sidelines and in practice, developing and coaching these players. And Jacobe Ward, he's just going to get better. He's going to grow and get better. I'm not going to spend too much time on this Jacobe Ward commitment. He's going to be a solid depth piece, potentially starter in the next 2 years for the Auburn Tigers. With Jacobe Ward committing, it could be a sign of good things to come with greener pastures ahead for Auburn recruiting. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm not going to make any projections for any players to come to Auburn. I've had a lot of bad luck when it comes to me doing that. So I'm not going to jinx Auburn. I'm not going to jinx myself from looking like a friggin' fool. But what I will say is Auburn is in a good spot with a lot of good players. First player that comes to mind is 5-star offensive tackle Andrew Babaloa. Right now, the battle that everyone thinks is the main battle is Stanford and Michigan. But Auburn has been slowly but surely making a lot of headway when it comes to his recruitment. It's making him think about where he wants to go to college now instead of just Stanford or Michigan. He is from Kansas. That don't mean that boy can't ball. What else you going to do in Kansas other than play football? And that's what this dude does. 6'5.5", 295 pounds for an offensive tackle, the perfect size. Auburn needs it. He knows it, and Auburn's going to be able to match anything that Stanford or Michigan throws at him when it comes to NIL. Now, the next player I'm going to talk about, I want to make a prediction that is coming to Auburn, but I'm not going to. Again, it's just bad luck for me. I don't want to look like a fool. But it's 4-star running back Usman Chroma. Now, if you asked me a month or so ago of who was between, I'd say Florida State or Georgia, with a heavy lean towards Georgia. That's no longer the case. Auburn has made up a lot of ground with Usman, and a lot of people are now saying that he is Auburn's to lose. Now some folks would be like, why would he come behind 4-star running back Alvin Henderson that decommitted from Penn State to come to Auburn? Well, that's a dumb question. Auburn has a long history of using multiple backs in the same season and them being very productive while doing it. Not to mention that in a lot of folks' eyes, Auburn is running back you. Think of the long list of running backs that came to Auburn and had super successful Auburn careers. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that? Another guy he's more of a long shot, but he's still up there, and it's looking like Auburn's chances are becoming a lot nicer than they were before. Right now, his recruitment is between South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Auburn. And with Auburn coming more into the mix since they lost out on a few other guys in the same position, it's starting to look real pretty for Auburn. And that is 5-star edge Jared Smith. Again, if you asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have told you he's going to South Carolina. I don't think he's going to go to Ole Miss. Who the hell wants to play for Lane Kiffin? Anyways, he's no longer just South Carolina's player to lose. Auburn is very much in this race. And with Auburn making him a priority and a main target for edge, I'd rather go to Auburn than South Carolina. Who wants to go to South Carolina? But I'm not saying he's afraid of competition. I'm just saying he probably knows where the better team is. He probably knows where the best opportunity lies. Trying not to be a homer. I'm trying not to bug too hard with this Jacobe Ward commitment. But in my eyes, Auburn is definitely the better program over South Carolina and would have an easier path to the league through Auburn than South Carolina. The other two guys I'm going to talk about, again, they're pretty big stretches right now, but word on the street is that 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham, the guy that visited Auburn for an official visit, and then the next day he told multiple reporters that Auburn is his new number one. The same guy that visited Alabama, and during his visit, he told reporters that Alabama is definitely his new number one. Alabama is definitely trending for Caleb Cunningham. I'm not afraid to say that Alabama is his number one. But word on the street right now is that Caleb Cunningham and his camp remain in constant contact with Auburn. And his family, his camp, assures multiple people in the Auburn organization that he will be attending Big Cat Weekend. You can get Caleb Cunningham back at Auburn during the biggest recruiting weekend in the country. You got to love Auburn's chances. Not a lot of people can go to that event and walk away without being incredibly impressed and on the verge of committing. We all know what happened last year during Big Cat. And I don't think we're going to see that big of a party like we did last year. I don't think we're going to see as many recruits as we did last year commit to Auburn during Big Cat. But I do think Auburn is going to make up a lot of ground with a lot of folks. What better way to start than with Caleb Cunningham? And the last guy I'm going to talk about is the man, the myth, the legend himself, 5-star quarterback, Julian Juju Lewis. In my opinion, in my mind, I feel like Juju Lewis he's gotten pretty much the same or similar NIL package offers from the 4 schools he's considering. USC, who he's currently committed to right now, but no one's buying, Colorado, Indiana, and Auburn. Now, I know Auburn can definitely beat Colorado and Indiana when it comes to NIL offers. USC would be the team, in my opinion, that would make Juju really think about it if it just came to numbers in terms of money. But I don't think Juju Lewis is only looking at the money. You got to look at the roster situation that you're coming into when the quarterback you're going to be replacing leaves. Most of USC's offensive production is going to be gone after 2024. Colorado has no offensive production other than Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders. After that, jack shit. Indiana, they're the Hoosiers. They have nothing. And Auburn has possibly the best, yes, the best young wide receiver core in the SEC, maybe even the country. We will see what they're all about during the 2024 season when they're actually able to put their product on the field. But on paper, right now, as it stands, Auburn definitely has the best roster situation after 2024. There's no way you can make a business decision just based on money when it comes to a high-profile sport at a high-profile position like Juju Lewis in football. Who are you going to throw to? How are you going to produce? How are you going to convince these NFL teams to draft you if you have nobody to throw to? Great quarterbacks, they come and go. Great wide receivers, they come and go. How often do these teams have both a great quarterback and great receivers that are only a year ahead of you on the roster at the same time? Juju will be able to play with these guys at the very minimum 2 years. Some maybe 3. That's a lot of time, and that's a lot of highlight tape you're going to be able to put out whenever it's your time to go to the NFL. I like Auburn's chances when it comes to Juju Lewis. And getting these 2 commitments in 3 days apart from each other is just a great sign for the projection of Auburn football recruiting. Y'all, it's time to boog. From the great man himself, Charlie 5, it's time to friggin' boog. And it's just getting started.